So welcome to another session in our program on cybersecurity career intelligence. As you know, we're trying to interview key thought leaders and others active in the cybersecurity field to give all listeners the best, latest intelligence on what's going on with respect to cybersecurity careers. And this morning, I'm very happy to have Mark Burnette, who's been a longtime leader in cybersecurity. So welcome, Mark.
Hi, Fred. Good morning. Good to be with you.
And I met Mark years ago in Nashville, and he's currently at LBMC. And actually, before we get into the discussion, Mark, why don't you tell people what LBMC does and what you do at LBMC these days?
Sure, Fred. I'd be happy to do that. First, it's great to be with everybody today. Really excited to have this conversation about cybersecurity. LBMC is a full services, professional services firm, accounting, tax, audit, those things. I run our firm's cybersecurity practice. And so we've got a number of folks spread out around the country that do all things IT audit and cybersecurity for our clients, everything from the IT controls assessments and risk assessments to penetration testing and forensics work. So the full gamut of cybersecurity assistance that organizations might need to help them assess and measure their cybersecurity status.
Very good, thanks. And in addition, I know I met Mark when he was a CISO at Gaylord in Nashville some years ago, but before that, he was also a chief information security officer at other organizations. He has a long history of being a leader in the cybersecurity field. And what he did recently is he wrote a book called Risky Business, which I'll give you a reference to it at the end of this program. And it's really it's focused on cybersecurity leadership, drawing on his experience and ideas over quite a few years. So I wanted to talk to Mark about that book, and in particular, leadership as it may apply to folks just getting into the security field. Maybe you're transitioning from another field. Maybe you're an undergraduate getting into cybersecurity. How do you need to put in place leadership principles when you're starting out? Are leaders made? Are they born? How would you go about developing leadership skills if you're a newbie? That's kind of a broad question, but I thought maybe we'd kick it off with that.
Sure, Fred. Well, first of all of us are leaders in some area of our lives today. And regardless of the role you hold at your organization, you have a leadership responsibility. You probably have one in your household, in your family, and then even in your role at the organization, you may consider yourself lower down the ladder. But we have leadership responsibilities, and in the book, there's actually a section in each chapter of the book that highlights some characteristics, and I called them legendary leadership characteristics. But they're basically principles that all of us should be practicing in our business lives and in our personal lives that can help us be good leaders. And it's things like having character and expressing gratitude and different things like that all along the way help you build a leadership acumen and prepare you for the time when you may be in a senior leadership role. And certainly if you are in a senior leadership role today and you've got folks reporting to you, we have a duty and a responsibility to lead those folks in a respectful way. And so, yes, Fred, all of us can be leaders at any point in time in our career. And I would say any of us who think we've arrived, that's an indicator that we haven't. And so we need to be continually practicing those leadership characteristics. And there'll be things that challenge us as leaders that we didn't anticipate, personnel matters, family issues, all those things that put pressures on life. And that's when a leader really needs to step up. I've got 2 teenage daughters, and one of my teenage daughters called me recently. She's in college, and she was frustrated with some class things and all that. And I told her, I said, hey, it's really easy to be a leader when things are going well. It's when things are difficult that leaders need to show their mettle. And so, no matter where you are in your career and your personal life right now, I would challenge you all, think about being a leader. And the best way to do that is think about people that you consider leaders in your life and the things that you admire about what they do, how they go about being a leader, and emulate those. And that's a good start because, if there are things that you appreciate about people in your life that have influence, then you could extend those to those that you work with as well.
That sounds like a very good approach, because I did read in the book here, there are these blue-colored pages that you call legendary leadership that have some pretty challenging skills there, right? Like gratitude and humility. They're things that you just don't read in a book and do. But I think your idea of following others is a very good one, and especially in today's times with the pandemic. Would you think that with so many crises going on, it would seem to be, well, what's the connection between leadership and crisis management? As you just said, right? When things are going well, it's pretty easy. So is it a good time today to learn that aspect of leadership with all the challenges everybody's facing?
Yes, I think that, if you think about right now, what's even more challenging for leaders is that many leaders are used to having access to their folks, in an office setting or something like that, where they're coming together in person on a regular basis. And it's hard to replace the personal interaction that you can get, because body language is so important to feel, responding to your audience and understanding, the mood in the room, if you will. But as a leader, we really have to focus on making sure we're staying connected with our folks, even though they may be more virtual than what we're used to. And so, yes, I think, Fred, it's been really important for leaders right now to focus on making sure that their folks have what they need to be successful, that they're encouraged and supported, and that the leaders are doing the best they can to eliminate any of the distractions or the things that may get in the way of the productivity and effectiveness of their workers, all while being sympathetic to the unique situations everyone's dealing with, such as having children at home that parents may not have anticipated, and having to deal with doing, some remote learning during the day and all of that. And as leaders, we need to be patient and understanding of that. I think this has probably been one of the times when many leaders have really found themselves stretched, but likely have learned a lot and grown a lot as a leader.
Yeah. So what do you think, is crisis management a sort of built-in part of leadership, do you think? Or security leadership, let's say, do you need to develop that skill if you don't have it? Because I think you talk about becoming a leader in this book, right? You're not like born a leader. I think you do emphasize different skills that you can learn. Is that one that people would need to learn in this field?
Yes, I guess it's an unfortunate byproduct of choosing the cybersecurity profession, Fred. We hope that we would never have to deal with crises, right? But the fact of the matter is, we will, as leaders in the cybersecurity profession, have to deal with crises of many kinds. Obviously, the most common ones you can think of: hacking, intrusions, ransomware, those things you read about. Obviously, those represent crises. As does things like, users accidentally giving away their password or taking an Excel file home on a flash drive and losing it. Those types of things. Those constitute crises as well, because they could represent data breaches, and the significance of a data breach on an organization is almost can be immeasurable. And so, yes, we all need to be prepared to manage through crises. And a lot of that has to do with a few things. First of all, that I talk about preparation, but being prepared means practicing. And, in our profession, we do tabletop exercises, simulations, if you will. And my firm does that a lot for our clients, where we'll simulate a breach with different types of scenarios. And then we have injections along the way. So as the team, as the company works through how they might handle that crisis, we throw unexpected parameters at them, things that, are frankly really happen, but you wouldn't expect it to happen under the circumstances, and they have to adapt and adjust. And so practicing helps give you confidence that you understand your responsibilities and that your coworkers and colleagues understand their responsibilities in that crisis management. So that's number one. And number two is remaining calm. It's really easy for us to feel our blood pressure go up, especially when you've got a C-level person breathing down your neck and going, you better get this resolved and you better get me information. And, you don't feel like you have enough information to advise them yet. And so being able to remain calm and be a calming presence in the room is really, really important, because that can escalate quickly. And we all know that when we all get stressed, a lot of times we can't think clearly. We don't act as measured as we should. And in a crisis, a lot of times being able to think clearly and act swiftly, but also accurately is really, really important.
So maybe if I can just go back in time a little bit, because you've been a CISO for a number of years, so you must, did you make a transition into that position, or did you acquire the skills along the way in other fields? What I'm trying to figure out, what should new people focus on doing now? You talked about emulating others, practicing some of these general skills that you're gonna use with your family and other people, like humility and gratitude and things like that. Are there other sort of tools that people should develop when they're just starting out in this field? Anything that comes from your background that you'd want to share with others?
Yes, Fred, I think I would say this, and I think this is true almost universally in any profession you choose in the business world, and that is most of your opportunities in your career will come not from what you know, but from who you know. And that doesn't discount the learning that you're doing now in your programs, but you have to form good relationships with people and network, and you have to be out there and building a name and building a connection with people. Fred, you and I came to know each other when you moved to Nashville. As you know, you were a senior leader in your organization, and so I reached out to you to introduce myself, and I always like to connect with other senior leaders because we can commiserate, right? We can share. We were both dealing with things in our organizations, and that's how we came to know each other. And so I think it's really important for everyone at all levels of their career to be thinking about people that you're working with, the people that you interact with through your professional endeavors. And don't be afraid to send them a LinkedIn request and begin to build that network, because it will astound you as you look back on your career how much of the opportunities came to you from relationships that you already have. And so I would say that's the single biggest thing, Fred, that I would advise anybody who is wanting to break into the cybersecurity profession. Get to some of the trade association meetings in your market. There's things like the Information Systems Security Association or the Information Systems Audit and Control Association. Those are two great trade associations in most markets that they have chapters. And then there's things like InfraGuard and some others that they can go to. In most cases, those meetings will be free or very low cost. It's a great way to start shaking some hands, introducing yourself, and making some connections. And it will surprise you how many people are there to find colleagues, meaning, they work for a company and they've got open positions and they want to find somebody who's hungry and wants to come and be a part of their organization. And that's one way to break in.
That is such good advice. And I do remember when I moved to Nashville, one of the things I was trying to do is set up some software in the organization I was in. And I remember you were generous enough to show me how you had set up the same software in your organization, which is a reason why I set it up in the organization I was in. But I think that is such good advice, and it's something you can really measure. You can figure how many new contacts have I made, how many contacts have I developed kind of into the next level of collaboration and things like that. So that, so I 100% agree with that. And so with that, any other final thoughts or on what new people, what's happening in the field? What do you see going on in the world of the pandemic? Do you see job opportunities going down? Do you see them taking a small hit? Do you see them coming out? What's your sort of general thought about what's happening in the field over the rest of the year, let's say? Sure,
Fred. Well, I would say probably encouraging to many of your participants, your watchers in this program. There is much more of a need for professionals in our field than what there are today, which means there are open positions that are unfilled. And so even in the pandemic, when many organizations have had to make some decisions about reducing their hiring or even taking steps to lay off, we're not seeing that necessarily be the case with cybersecurity, because the hackers never stopped. The bad guys never stopped. The threats never went away. And so organizations recognize that. And so they've been able to adjust and adapt their budgets and their staffing plans to make sure that there are positions available. So, and I would say one area that's burgeoning in the cybersecurity world is expertise in cloud characteristics, because so much of IT is moved to AWS and Azure and Google and those types of things. And so, but the skills and the understanding of the uniquenesses of operating in those environments aren't quite as prevalent. So if you're a student and looking to break in, that's an area. A tip for you would be go out and build some skills in that cloud discipline, and you will be surprised how many organizations would clamor to have you as a part of their organization, because they're having to retrain, reskill some of their existing workforce where they were more prepared for more traditional data center hosted solutions. And the cloud stuff, the risks are a little different, and the way you approach it, manages is different as well.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because all our labs are in the cloud. We have courses on cloud security, and I've been talking about that for years. It's kind of like when we went from the mainframe into the LAN world, right? Now we're going from the data center and LAN world into the cloud world. So thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your insights, and thank you all for listening. Again, I will post a note at the end as to how you can get Mark's book on cybersecurity leadership. And thank you all. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you in the next cybersecurity intelligence discussion. Welcome back. I'm Fred Scholl. I hope you enjoyed the cybersecurity career intelligence conversation that we just had. It's actually part of a series that we've been doing every week or two to help students and prospective students and people in the industry understand what's going on with respect to the cybersecurity career and job market. It's changing on a week-by-week basis. And I wanted to make sure that you knew where to find more of these interviews. We've got a bunch of them. They're online, along with information about our program. So this is our homepage on the Master of Science in Cybersecurity degree program. And you can see it's got some of the basic information. If you want to request information on the program, obviously you can click on this yellow button. If you want to see more of the conversations that I just talked about, scroll down a bit. You can go to blog right here, and up above you can see the interviews that I've had with a whole bunch of industry experts, and I've got more career news in terms of blog posts down here. So basically, we have a ton of information on this, and hopefully, if you want to follow up, you can browse through this site. If you want to, if you have some technical questions, you can contact me directly. I'm frederick.scholl@quinnipiac.edu. I'm happy to respond to any type of technical questions about the program. If you have questions about admissions or want some other information, then click on this yellow button here, request information. And I hope to see you in the next cybersecurity career intelligence program in the next week or two. Take care.